Welcome to the Meta One Coin Report, exploring the world of private digital currency through the eyes of human rights and empowerment for humanity. Here's your host, Leanne Carroll.
Welcome to the Meta One podcast. You may recognize today's guest as an award-winning musician or a filmographer. You may recognize him from his work on the History Channel or as a UFO experiencer. His name is Michael Lee Hill. He makes these amazing discs and he makes amazing music. He is part of the what I call empowering humanity movement. He works with light, sound, frequency, healing of the earth, healing of water, healing of consciousness. He works with groups like the University of Ottawa and also groups like NASA and Tesla. He's going to be telling us all about what he's doing today, everything that he's coming up with that's new to share. I'm excited to be catching up with Michael today. Please join me in welcoming Michael Lee Hill to the podcast. Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. It's good to see you. It's good to catch up. And I'm really excited about all of the things going on in your life. And I really love the new song that you have, The Morning Star. I was listening to it. It really, it's sort of old-fashioned rocks out.
I'm a classic rock guy, so I'll take that.
Yeah. When you were creating the song, I just found it really, really interesting how you were studying how light, sound, and harmonics create matter. And it can also create antimatter. It can go both ways.
From what I understand, it's antimatter. It's anti-mass, which brings anti-gravity. This is scientific study now that is revealing this. And what they found was specific frequencies, which I'm, I guess, proud to say I've cracked that code of what frequencies produce the most anti-gravity or anti-mass. So what happens when these specific frequencies are combined, because, I was brought into the reverse engineering division of the NSA, and the head of that group, his name was A.R. Borden. He said, in this concentration you're in this, study, you're going to find that to create matter, you need specific frequencies. And not only do you need specific frequencies, you need specific frequencies in specific combinations. And that would be a chord or a melody, right? So yeah, Morning Star was my first, what's that called? We'll just call it a work. I'm looking for a word that starts with C. It's a composition. It was my first composition of music that incorporated these ideas, and it all revolves around being tuned properly, which is called the Pythagorean tuning, which means really your A is tuned to 432 hertz, not 440. And if your A is in tune to 432, then all the rest of the notes will be in tune if you're tuned to that A. And that's called Pythagorean tuning. And from what I understand, those frequencies are the frequencies that creation comes from, because truly you find out the whole universe is being sung into existence. Everything's spinning, everything's vibrating. And so, yeah, I'll tell you, this is what it's all about right here. This is
photonic light.
Yeah, it is. It's divine light indeed. What it is I hired a group called Cymatics, and I sent them my guitar tuned properly. And 20 seconds of it, it wasn't anything fancy, just me going bow, bow on my guitar, But I was very meticulous about making sure it was tuned properly. Well, these scientists got back a hold of me and they said, listen, we've used this technology to image every frequency known to mankind. We've created a language to communicate with dolphins. Because as you said, you're a fan of cymatics. So imagine they can take vocalizations from dolphins and see exactly what that looks like when they're asking for food or whatever. And then they can communicate using those frequencies. And but he said, we've never seen this complexity and dimensionality before in anything we've ever. This is the actual cymatic image that was created from my guitar tuned to A equals 432. He said, we've used it to image everything, but we've never imaged an electric rock guitar amp. Like, yeah, rock magic. So one thing I can tell you is they asked me for my permission to release that full 20-second clip as an experimental video where you can see this being created in real time, because this is just one still frame, you know. Right. So that's up on their website, cimascope.com. Just search in, you know, music made visible. Where this leads to is I had already learned, let me see if I got a disc here. I had already learned to make these. They were
I call them healing discs.
Healing discs, yes. Pleiadian particular, but that's a side of the Anunnaki family we'll get into. But, you know, I was using crop circles, and I should be more prepared. I don't have one of these discs. What I did was I thought, well, why not put this inside the crystal, you know? And I did, and the results are historic. I ended up being contacted by Richard Hoagland, who was NASA's science advisor, liaison to the media. He was Walter Cronkite's science advisor. He's the guy that found the face on Mars, which a lot of people might know of. But Richard was a strange thing for me because he was a hero of mine. You know, growing up, when I needed answers, spirit led me to his beds of knowledge, and really sparked an unfolding of knowledge and information. So when he asked me to be on the show, I was flabbergasted. Like, oh my God, I've met some of my rock star heroes, and I think I was more starstruck by talking to Richard, you know. But he said, Michael, we know your story sounds, you know, crazy to a lot of people, but NASA has been looking into how energy works multidimensionally for a very long time. And he calls it hyperdimensional physics. He said, the fact of the matter is your numbers are right on the money, that 432 base frequencies. I learned this from Richard. He said, for one thing, they're the exact same frequencies of, cycles, which are in the precessional cycle, which is a 25,920 year cycle. So I'm like, who was around long enough to even know that's a cycle? Because you probably need to be around two of those to even go, oh. But anyhow, when you look into it, yeah, all precessional cycle numbers are 432 related, and 432, the reason 432 is important is if you take E equals MC squared, which all of our physics and math is based upon, well, all scientists, quantum physicists now will tell you that everything is both particle and wave simultaneously. So E equals MC squared is the mass, is the particle part of the equation, is right there, M equals mass. So where's the frequency component? Well, you find out 432 times 432 is the speed of light. So it's the only frequencies that are truly harmonics of light that plug into E equals MC squared. So when you run it backwards, 432 base frequencies squared becomes C squared times mass equals energy. And why this is important is Richard, since he is a liaison of NASA, said, well, I'd like to get NASA to look into your work. I'm like, well, okay, you know, how crazy is that? You know what I mean? I'm just a guitar player, and here NASA's looking into my work. What they found was using, it's kind of like Curian photography, if anyone's familiar. It's using electricity to be able to photograph photonic light energy. And some people might know, like they would photograph a leaf and then cut off half the leaf and half of it's still there energetically. And also they found out that the same thing, our body, people might call it the aura, a subtle energy field around the body. But anyhow, they have an offshoot of that called GDV photography, which specifically NASA uses to look into energetic levels within water. And so what they did was they took 3 different types of water. It was California municipal tap water, and Canadian spring water, and then Nevian bottled water. And they took 6 photographs. Let's just start with tap water. They took 6 photographs at a control, untreated. And I'll tell you what, it's almost dead. We've nearly killed our drinking water with chlorine and with fluoride, and making it take left and right hand turns after going miles through pipes. And we need to learn to take better care of our water, because most of our energy that comes into the human body, we're 70 to 90% water. It comes from water. And so the energetic level of the photography of tap water from California, it was just like this little tiny pinprick of light. It looked like a star up in the sky that you can barely see. It's almost dead. And then they took one of my discs, the one with the 432 image in it. These crop circle ones are a little bit more experimental. We'll get into that. But the one with the 432 image in it, this, all they did was they took 6 photographs at control, and then they took the disc and put the glass, same water, and they just rested it on a disc and used it as a coaster. And 15 minutes later, it looks like this, like a supernova of energy.
Yeah, I really brought it to life.
Exploded within it. So this really confused me, because I asked the biophysicist from NASA, I said, well, wait a minute. If there was very little energy in it, but now there's tons of energy in it, isn't that a form of unlimited free energy of some sort? Where is that extra energy coming from? And I asked her, is it from our realm? Is it from our sun? Is it from our planet's electromagnetic fields and tectonic plates and whatnot? She said, no, it's coming from another dimension. And that really toasted my noodle, because first of all, I never had to ask myself, what's it mean to be drinking water that has energy from another dimension in it? And really what's happening is, we can get into this. There was a lot more to this than I've actually shared with people. And one of it is meeting Native American First Nation elders and grandmothers and chiefs. And I was instructed, this wasn't coincidence why I was moving to Florida. And he told me that people think it's in St. Augustine, the Fountain of Youth, and it's not. But all of the people don't really know this, but there's thousands of fresh spring underground aquifers that come up all through Florida, and it's not coincidence. He said that the first one that was brought up was by this individual known as the water bearer, which was a previous incarnation of myself. I know it sounds silly, and I know in the Western culture, they don't really look into reincarnation much, but I'm Native American, and we do, and like Tibetans as well. I know we've all lived many, many lifetimes, and we've all had many, many names, to the point I said names are actually turning out to be useless. What I truly am is nameless, but not voiceless. But so he told me, you are a medicine man. They know that I am the reincarnation of a Iroquois chief that was known as the peacemaker, because for a long time in the Iroquois, there was 5 tribes were at war with one another, and brother against brother, tribe against tribe. And not only that, darkness is set in internally, and they were at war with one another for a very long time. And this individual called the peacemaker showed up and showed them another way. For instance, those tribes were practicing blood sacrifice ceremonies. They were a holdover of the Mayan culture. You know how the Mayans are known to be into blood sacrifice. And the peacemaker showed up and said, no, you don't need to be doing this. You can use tobacco to put your prayer into tobacco and then burn it, and the smoke will take your prayers up to source and to creator. And you don't need to be sacrificing things. It's actually backwards, And so Chief Golden Light Eagle said, you going to Florida is not by coincidence. That in the past, there was one chief that was not going along with the story of the Iroquois coming into union and becoming a confederacy. And right now, most of them will tell you it was an evil war chief male. That can't be the case, because all of Native American First Nation cultures, it's the females that have the highest level of authority. It's the grandmothers. They said this is no other than White Buffalo Calf Woman, because she's seen how they treated each other. She's seen how they treated this planet and was, desecrating the lands and the water and whatnot. And you can imagine her going, how about no, I don't want nothing to do with what you people are doing. And so they try to kill her and take her out with the arrow. I think on the back of the dollar bill, you see that eagle, and it's got arrows in one hand and it's got the olive branches in the other. I truly think that's our choice we have as humans. And anything, you either go after it with the arrow and you're going to get your asses handed to you, because that's not the way. The way is the olive branch. So as the story goes, after they tried to take her out, they failed miserably, because White Buffalo Calf Woman was a very, very powerful person that wasn't from here. She was here
for peace.
So and then after they tried to kill her, she escaped the incoming genocide squad, that was decimating the Native Americans. And it said that she moved away from her people, which was around the Great Lakes area. And she moved to a place that was very treacherous to come and try to find her. And it was filled with alligators and snakes and swamps. Well, obviously that's not the Great Lakes area. It turns out it is Florida. And so he told me that part of my previous incarnation to come and meet her and get her to change polarity and to join in this union that would become America. Land of the plumed serpents, by the way, is what America means, or Amaruka. So Chief said, I was taken to, this is Chief talking, he said, I was taken to the very first spring that was brought up. That's the true fountain of youth. And it's not in St. Augustine, it's in Miami, but it's not open to the public, and it's owned by a Seneca chief who owns that land. And he said, we were allowed to go in and bathe our healing instruments in that water, and that would bring the attributes of that fresh, divine, holy water or living water out to the real world. But he said, that meant they could bathe their feathers and their shakers and rattles in the water. Then when they went back to the tribes, if someone needed a healing, they could fan them down with a feather or whatever, and it would cover them in those frequencies of divine water. But he said, Michael, to become a shamanic medicine man healing instrument, there's only one rule, and that instrument has to be created by your own two hands. And he said, your healing instrument is your crystal disc creations. He said, the difference is that with this, anything that contains this image will bring forth the attributes of living water. And for instance, they brought this up, the grandmothers did specifically, that anything that contains this image, whether it's a t-shirt or a pendant or a disc or a coaster, anything is going to bring forth this energy. And this was before NASA got involved, And I got to say, maybe it's just human nature, but I had a month and a half since I had sent a disc to the biophysicist from NASA, and that voice of doubt, don't count your chickens before they hatch, Michael, and then this other voice is like, are you kidding me? Have you learned nothing? You think this is all coincidence? Of course, they did find something. So The grandmothers were really excited about this more than anything, and it's the pendant. They said that, yeah, this pendant, if you put it under a glass of water, it's gonna bring this energy into the water, and a lot more photonic light energy from the water that will heal and restructure water in a way that NASA has never seen before, they said. But not only that, though, our bodies are made of water, so it's restructuring the water in your body as you wear this. But it's also going out into its atmosphere and is raising the vibration and the frequency of its environment. And I can tell you they're going out all over the world as we speak. But not only that, we can get into, it's going to be on the moon soon.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you've said so much here in the last few minutes about frequency, and even something being able to be imbued with the frequency and be able to share a frequency, and just a simple frequency being able to bring light into an environment, and photonic light, life force energy, which is utterly amazing. I think it's part of the new technology, the new healing technology. I think that it's part of actually energy too. It's once it gets released from the dark files, I think it's going to be right now it's being brought forth as something that's new and exciting. But I think it's ancient knowledge, and I think it will become common knowledge once again. And I will say that I've used your discs in in a healing way. And if someone's been through a lot of trauma, they're going to have dark spots in their energy somewhere, where the pain is, where the blockage is. And your discs are one of the most powerful tools to reinfuse and reignite and begin to heal and spin around some dense energy that belongs into someone's maybe energy field. Maybe it's been lodged there, or maybe it's fresh. It doesn't matter. It heals just as quickly, and it heals the same. They're really amazing. And thank you for doing that. And I know that there's a lot of technology in the crystal that you use with them. And I just want to say that you're friends of the Meta One family, and right now the Meta One group is doing an Empower Humanity tour, and they were in Dallas not very long ago. I was at that workshop. It was very good. They're going to be in Sedona very soon, but they're also going to be in Orlando, I believe.
Yeah, I'm going to be at that event. I'm excited.
Right. And you're going to be there. So I wanted to just let our audience know this is 2021, December 18th. You're going to be at that show. So if you are a Michael Lee Hill fan, you can find your way over to the Meta One Empower Humanity Conference. And are you going to have some of your discs, some of your technologies?
Yeah,
okay. And so
as well.
And you can see them in person, hold them and feel them, because really someone can just take it and maybe put it in front of their eye, put it in front of their forehead, and sort of clear away mental patterns and things like that, or open your third eye. It's amazing. You can feel it just with first contact. So I'm really happy to be able to say that you're going to be there. And I'm not sure if I'll be there, but I know you will be. And if you are listening to this podcast and you have time to make your way to Orlando by the middle of December, you can go onto Meta One's website, metaone.io, and find out more. Just sign up for the newsletter so that you don't miss our other exciting engagements.
I can't wait. You know what? I've never had this happen, but I got to use the loo.
Oh no. Okay, so we'll just hit a stop right now. We'll just pause.
Right. I'll be right back. The pen. And I found out that my stash of Meta One coins has went up tremendously since I was part of the ground floor of that. So all of a sudden I'm like, wow, it's I've told Robert this myself, like, man, I can play guitar, but cryptocurrency, I'm like, I don't really understand it, but I'm all for taking down the Federal Reserve and getting into a more a better system of
More level playing field, maybe.
Yes.
Something
yes.
that, yeah. So it
Super
is. It's an
exciting.
appreciating, stable token, and it is a form of currency, if you will. And it is great that it has gone up so much, and it will continue to go up, especially with greater adoption. And there's a whole lot you can do with it.
And it's very interesting too, because me and Robert have spoken. Not a lot of people might know, but he's very involved with the Native American First Nation
Mhm.
movement of
Yes.
getting their lands back and whatnot. So there's a lot that I'm looking forward to seeing him again and discussing. But the disc, yeah, I'm going to have them there. But I got to tell you, it's really funny because it's caused kind of an uproar with the scientists of NASA because they don't understand it. These discs, there's no wires going to them. There's no battery,
Do
but
you think they really don't understand it? Do you really think they don't?
yeah. You know what, truly to understand any of this really, you can be a quantum physicist or whatever, but that doesn't bring musical intelligence. And if you want to understand frequency, I would speak to a musician, even on a soul level. They don't have the right frequencies to even work with. They're probably, going along with whatever they're told and using 440 as the reference. And that was done by a Nazi scientist, by the way. And it's not harmonious at all. But
Yeah.
they'll learn, because you know what it's going to take, and it's happening right now, is a grassroots movement of musicians. Because once you play and you're in 432, the instrument actually has more information in the wave form coming off the instrument. And once you start, even an acoustic guitar, you can feel the vibrations in your body in a whole new way. It's like somehow the intensity knob on what you're feeling gets turned up more so than even the sound. So, but here's the deal, is like when I go to a jam night or something at a club, they're all going to be tuned to 440. So I have to tune to 440. And when I do, it's like, my instrument just came lifeless. Once a musician tunes and starts performing in 432, it's you can't go back because you feel it, and it's a very good fit.
Yeah, the sound doesn't feel distorted because it's actually distorting all of the cells in your body.
Yeah.
And I think, of course, that was the purpose of making the music. So, we can actually heal through harmony, and harmony can keep us balanced.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing that they really don't want is for us to be balanced.
No, that went against their agenda.
But it's coming back. We're learning right now that that's part of the Empower Humanity movement, the musicians and those that are bringing harmony back into harmony, bringing harmony back into awareness and back into consciousness. So tell me, your disc is going to be going to the moon very soon. Is that right?
Yes, in a way, but it's not my disc per se. I was given a heads up by an insider that Elon Musk had this new program or mission or whatever you want to call it that was called Humanity's Hall of Fame time capsule. And what it was they've discovered a way to encode massive amounts of data within a crystal, and using nanotechnology and quantum computing. So people might know that Elon Musk put one of his Tesla cars up in orbit a couple of years ago, and in its glove box is one of these crystals already. That this really small crystal contains all of Isaac Asimov's work and the all the contents of Wikipedia on a crystal that's like the size of a top of a pin. And so what's really interesting with this technology is to actually read it, all you need is a good microscope, and I guess it brings it up and it's in layers. So you can look at like one whole sheet of what I'm part of, they call them lunograms, and that there'll be a whole sheet and you can bring up each one, and they're very high resolution when you expand into them. But yeah, they accepted my submission because, right when I seen it, I almost like something higher was saying, well, you know what this is about, right? Because, if you think about it, what NASA proved is when you take this cymatic image and you encase it in quartz crystal glass, the result is not a passive device, it's active. It's communicating something that is restructuring water in a way that they've never even seen before. So, what is it? And that's, like I was saying, that's really flipped them out, the scientists, because it shouldn't be. I think really what this is proof that we're living in a holographic reality. And, people might not understand, well, what's that mean? We look at our reality as like, if you took a picture of a rose, right? And then you cut that rose in half, the negative. In our reality and how you think of reality, well, the top of that negative, you're going to have the rose, and the bottom, the stem, and that's it. But, for photographic, holographic photography, the negative is absolutely different. And these exist in the real world. This isn't hypothetical stuff. I'm sure everyone's been to a Ripley's Believe It or Not and seen a holographic picture that you can walk around and it's 3D. Well, if you take the negative that creates those images, and let's just say it is of a rose, if you cut that negative in half, you don't get the top of the flower up here and the stem. You get two different full, complete roses from a different perspective. And if you take those two halves and cut them in half, no matter how small you divide that negative into, once you shine a laser through the smallest bit that you can, you're going to get a full rose. And the idea is that every bit of it contains all of it. And the idea of this too, that so on a galaxy level, that every cell in your body has all of the information of all of it. And it goes both ways. Once you change your own idea of reality, it gets reflected back by the universe, because all of it, every little bit of it contains all of it. So if you think about what this frequency is doing to water and to us, that holographically, this is a two-dimensional representation of a real frequency. Every little bit of it contains all of it. And not only that, what I was going to say is, Chief Golden Light Eagle told me to take my disc to these springs through Florida and to start doing, I was instructed how to do some ancient water blessing ceremonies. And the first spring that I did it to was called Rainbow Springs. And there's more now, but all of this is really strange because this had already happened before the NASA stuff. So I knew something was happening, but like I said, it's really hard for myself to, it's just that voice of doubt that's always like, don't count your chickens, And I've learned though, well, you got to know too and feel when it's not coincidence, that these things are coming together, and hold faith in that, and yeah, it works. But so if NASA has proved that you take this cymatic image, encase it in quartz crystal glass, and it becomes active, it's a transmitter of some type of higher frequency. Well, look at what Elon Musk is doing. He's taking this cymatic image and he's encasing it in quartz crystal, for the time capsule. And in January, a SpaceX launch will take it to the moon, and then it's going to be on the moon for over the next 10 million years. Raining down that frequency on planet Earth, I think it's beautiful. And
maybe it can send some much needed healing energy back to us from
exactly, yeah.
from space.
And I'm really excited. One of the things right now is, thank God these people, that are involved in this circle are talking about getting me funding. And one of the things I want to look into, and it'd be really easy, is to see the effect of this water on agriculture when you garden with it. From what I understand, even regular structured water, not even this is creates structured water of a form NASA's never even seen before. They've never seen this type of energy in a droplet of water. And not only that, they said that any way that they've seen of actually structuring water, because you can structure water by healers like Tibetan monks healing water. You can send it through vortexes and spin it. You can put it through high magnetic fields. And yeah, it does bring through more energy then, and it gets brighter, but it also, the periphery of the light pattern gets bigger and more diffuse. They said for the first time ever, this is the opposite. It gets brighter, but the longer you keep the water on the disc, that the light periphery gets smaller and brighter. And she said it's almost like if you take a magnifying glass and you want to burn a leaf. Well, the higher you go with the magnifying glass, the more focused the light periphery becomes until it gets so small and focused that it ignites and can burn a leaf. In the same way, she said, for the first time ever, this technology is focusing the light, the photonic light energy within a droplet of water into a laser beam of energy. And she goes, I don't know what it means, which is funny, coming from a NASA scientist, but
I like that. It's very, very focused. It's like creation energy.
That's what I look at it as, because everything is made of light, right? Slows down and it becomes physical matter.
And if you need energy, if you're feeling like your body is just depleted, like you need a good sleep, you also need life force energy too. And so the disc, not only can you drink water that has been charged by the disc, you can put the disc on your body,
yes,
or even near you in the sun, so it reflects on you.
What's funny is when you said, you can feel its effects. Sometimes when I'm at a conference or something and I have a vending table set up, can you imagine going through a whole day of people coming up, oh, what are these? After a while, I'm just like, oh. And I started saying, you know what, can I just show you? And so I'm not going to touch you, but, I just need your permission. I'm going to put it about 1 inch, from your third eye, your forehead, and I'll go in a circular motion. And what I've noticed, I'd say at least 7 out of 10 times I've done this, that the person's eyes will have like this little mini spasm. They're like, brrr. And I don't even know what it is, but I'll tell you, the funniest reaction was this girl, and I did it to her third eye, and her eyes did that and went, brrr, and I could see it like actually happening in her eye. She opened her eyes and she goes, I'll take that. That's all it took, You can feel it's like blowing out negative thought forms that's holding back that chakra from
blocks. Yeah, because your left eye is your third eye. Your third eye and your left eye are connected, and then your crown and your right eye.
I did not know that.
So
what, you shared a story with me and I thought it was incredible as far as the healing ability of frequency, and that was when you use the Vogel crystal. Could you share that? I just think it's amazing.
Yes, it was actually a distant healing. And those, I always look at those little pine cone things that the Anunnaki, the images in the tablets have. And those are very, very powerful frequency senders. And I have a crystal bowl that is tuned to all my crystal bowls are tuned not only to the chakra, but to the glandular underneath it. And I think that soul memory is connected into our glandulars, like our thyroid, our thymus, our pineal, pituitary, and adrenals. Anyway, I was playing the bowl and sending a distant healing to my friend that had nodules on her thyroid. She had 4, and 2 of them were a little bit smaller and 2 of them were big. And she had a sonogram, and it was really interfering with her thyroid function. So she needed immediate repair. And they sent her home with some medicine, and they were hoping that it would work in the next couple of weeks. And then she was invited back so that they could at least shrink the nodules before operating, so they wouldn't have so much to deal with. That was the purpose of the medicine. But after continuous sessions with the Vogel, that was taking the sound and sending it directly to her thyroid, it dissolved the nodules completely in her thyroid. And as a matter of fact, the technician was worked a sonogram and put the results, some images on a screen right next to the images that she had 2 weeks prior. And the technician could not believe that it was the same thyroid. It was very, very, very powerful frequency healing. And you can do that. You can. Each session was probably about 45 minutes long. And I did 4 of them, one for each nodule. And actually I did it with kidney stones too, and broke them up, just shattered them. There was one that was really edgy and really big, and I shattered it with sound using the Vogel. And the pain was gone. And well, I mean, it allowed it to pass, actually, all the little bitty fragments, but the difficulty was over with concerning that kidney stone for the client. Yeah. And that was using sound and Vogel. And we were talking about the what is it, the Crystal Palace in Florida where a guy, and really I think that's how the pyramids were formed. I think that's how they moved the blocks.
Yeah. Anti-gravity.
Yeah, using the harmonic frequencies of sound. Do you know very much, or can you speak very much to about the Crystal Palace and how magnificent it is and how it's estimated it was built using sound?
Yeah, the Coral Castle is what it's called. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was really frail. He was like 110 pounds, and here he built this whole megalithic site that, these are like tons of weight, these giant stones. But he wouldn't allow anyone to see him create it and what he did. But they knew he had like a big tripod pyramid. He had some type of device on it, and a lot of people think it had to do with frequency, that he could create a frequency that would allow the stones to levitate. And what I can tell you, that's exactly what science now is saying. Is, as we're saying, scientists now are saying frequency creates anti-gravity because it creates anti-mass. And what happens is, when you're let's take a Tibetan singing bowl. They're 432 hertz for the crown chakra specifically. That when they're playing that frequency, it's creating a bubble of negative mass, which creates anti-gravity. And what the scientists are saying, in that sphere, when regular E equals mc squared mass enters that field of anti-gravity being created by frequency, mass floats up instead of down. It's just that simple, that when something enters it. So I think about this a lot too, with the 432 discs, because 432 is the key. And what's really interesting is, like you said, we're just remembering this because the truth of the matter is it's already encoded into Earth's past societies, and
it's encoded into the tilt of the Earth. It's encoded into the distance between the Earth and the moon and the sun and the size. And it's encoded into the pyramids. It's encoded into the 369.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but 369 implies a 432 base Fibonacci sequence. That if you start with 3 instead of 1, 3 and 3 is 6, 6 and 3 is 9, 9 and 6 is 15. You keep going, it lands on 432. And so that's pretty interesting in itself. But the
Fibonacci notes are different than the Solfeggio notes. A lot of people ask me the difference. and I tried to tune a 528C, which is a solfeggio frequency,
Mhm.
and it didn't work with the other notes. There is a difference, and I tried to get like another what is it, 963B, I think. Anyway, it didn't. But when you start with 432, the rest of the tuning is more natural, and that's Fibonacci.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what was really interesting is working with NASA. I ended up being contacted by other biophysicists that are into, restructuring water and whatnot. And I'm just passing along information because I know it's going to piss off a lot of people. But he brought up 528 specifically. He said, what I can tell you is us biophysicists have found if the frequency does not resolve to 9, that there's no increase of photonic light energy noticed, which maybe it's bringing through another frequency that isn't part of this physical system. It's astral. I don't know. I'm just hypothesizing. But he said, unless the frequency resolves to 9, that there's no increase of photonic light energy. So what I did, and I could share this with you as well, because it might help in the future of tracking down bulls or whatnot. But, just because you got your middle A note on a piano tuned properly, well, there's still lower A notes and lower octaves, they're called. And not only that, there's other notes. There's B, C, D, E, F, G, and then back to A. So about 5 octaves like A, the octaves of 432 in A are 1 octave above it is 864, and then the middle A note is 432, then 216, and then 108, 54, and then 27. And so what I did is worked out a grid of all the musical notes. When you're tuned to 432, what are those other frequencies? And I have it, but why this is important is, with the reverse engineering team, and he told me that you need not only specific frequency, but specific frequencies in combination. So instantly I'm thinking, that's why I made the grid, and what I found was every single note, when you're tuned to 432, no matter where you're at, if you're on a D note, a B note, a G, in any octave, every single frequency resolves to 9. So it hit me like if I had my guitar tuned to 432, every single note, no matter where I'm at, is going to be bringing through energy from another dimension into our realm. But then that puzzled me because I was thinking, well, how would you know what frequencies to use then? If you need specific frequencies, if they're all resolving to 9 and they're all bringing through energy, what would lead you to the understanding of what frequencies even brought through the most this energy? I'll tell you how I cracked it. I wish I had my guitar here. It would be the easiest to show you. As I was saying, I had learned from many sources that the frequency needs to resolve to 9 to bring through extra photonic light energy from another dimension. And what I did was made a grid of all the notes when you're tuned to 432. And I realized, well, they all resolve to 9, which means on a guitar, if you're tuned properly to your A string vibrating at 432, they're all going to be bringing through energy. So that brought me to a puzzle that, well, how would you know what notes bring through the most photonic light energy? Because I was taught by the reverse engineering division of the NSA. He said, not only to create matter, you need specific frequencies, but you need specific frequencies in specific combination, which would be a chord or a melody. So I started really asking the big woman upstairs, well, how would I find what notes bring the most photonic light energy? And the answer was harmonic vortexes of energy. What that means is on a guitar string, that's tuned to 432. If you go to its octave, which I'll fret it first. So to make a harmonic on a guitar, you don't actually press down like this. You just barely put your flesh on it. And it makes like a angelic bell.
It's much more ambient.
Yeah, and it really, but it only happens here. Watch this. I'm going to go to every fret. Not nothing. There's one. But that's big time. And then so these three are the most. So you can play notes of like harmonics.
So you were saying that it was on the 12th, the 7th, and the 5th fret. And I find that interesting.
So then you'd have to see, well, what note is that harmonic vortex resting over? And like for this guitar is hard to see the dots. This note is the 5th fret, and it's a D. So A, D, E is the notes, and then the octave of A again. So it would be middle A, A4, and then D. Oh, I'm in the wrong fret. So just because they're on the 5th and 4th fret, it's like you need to know, well, the note under that on it would be D and E. So if you made a chord of A, D, E, and then the octave of A again, but every string would be different, right? So, you need to map it all out and get the notes that sit over vortexes of harmonic energy. And then those are going to be the notes. So even using the A string, then I'm thinking like Tibetan monks, how they use different instruments tuned differently to create anti-gravity. They're probably using D's and E's and A's, in combination. But for E, it would be E, A, B, E, and so on and so forth. So, you really need, but here's the deal. I have a nice sound, like music room. I have a very nice PA and a subwoofer, and I'm going to create an anti-gravity room. But for Morningstar, this is.
Yeah, you can kind of feel that in Morningstar, the song that you just created, and you can find that on YouTube. Anybody who's listening to this podcast, his Michael Lee Hill's channel on YouTube.
Yes, indeed. And Morningstar, put it this way. If there's harmonic vortexes over the open strings, over the 5th fret, over the 7th fret, and over the 12th fret. Well, say you got a guitar riff that is on your 1st fret. Well, you could retune your guitar to drop it into that harmonic center. And that's what I've done. This is not a normal guitar tuning at all. So a new song I'm working on, which still I'm really looking into compositions that incorporate these new ideas of, what tunings and what frequencies are going to bring forth the most increased light energy.
Very good. And different instruments affect the body differently. Stringed instruments affect the throat and the aura. And the song Hallelujah, there was they struck the chord and it pleased the Lord, and it's really about the harmonies that create health and healing, because the king needed the I guess the guy to come and play his harp because it's in one of the songs. But very cool, very, very, very interesting, and that you're discovering that and you're playing with it. And is the Morningstar song, is it the only one composed this way?
Yes.
Okay.
That I know of.
I wonder
Yeah.
if there's other artists doing this too.
The only person that I heard that actually knows is Prince. And a lot of the later stuff was tuned to 432. I don't know if he was, cracked the code of creating tunings that pulled notes into harmonic vortexes of energy, but it was interesting because Prince was very antisocial, and
Yeah.
he, though at one point in his life, a couple of years ago, obviously before he passed, or that would be really incredible, but he made a Twitter account and a Facebook account, and to celebrate, he said, for the next 3 hours, any questions that come in, I'm going to answer. And it ended up, he only answered one question. And that was, should we be retuning our music to 432 hertz? And his answer was the golden standard. And he put a link to why we should be in 432. Now I heard Jimi Hendrix, there's a song of Jimi Hendrix that was in 432, but it's funny, he didn't do it on purpose. He was playing at Woodstock and he was outdoors and the humidity had pulled his instrument a couple cents flat and he ended up perfectly in 432. But what's really interesting with this is I've seen some people in the comments of Morningstar on YouTube, like, I can't stop listening to it. And I like the song, I dig it, but I don't think it has more to do with what it's doing to your body. You know what I mean? By listening to it. And, I like to say, if we were tuned properly and you went to your local bar and that bar band was tuned to 432, you probably walk out healed, just by nothing but going and listen to musicians play. I will say though, I don't want to be the poster child of 440 is evil, because of some music that changed my life and made me want to be a musician is tuned to 440. Led Zeppelin, for instance. But at the same time, I wonder what it'd sound like if it was tuned properly, man. You really feel it in your gizzard.
Yeah. Isn't there some software that you can run it through to retune it
Yeah.
for yourself? Have you done that?
Oh, my voice. I don't like to talk about it because if someone's taken the time to retune their music, I think it's good. It's a blessing. But if it wasn't recorded properly tuned in the first place, all those harmonics and all those overtones were never recorded. So just because you put it in a computer and drop it down 8 cents, the information is not there. And but I will say, a lot of my earlier music is tuned to 440. So I did it. And I took my own music and dropped it to 432. And I do think I could tell a difference. It hits you differently, in your body even. But at the same time, I think to reap the biggest benefit, that the music needs to be recorded originally in the proper tuning. But you're mentioning 417. What's really interesting is a lot of musicians have incorporated what's called a half step down tuning, which really the whole instrument is just 1 fret lower. And the idea is it puts music into a more human friendly singing range. But the fact of the matter is they're no longer in 440, are they? And some of the artists that have went on to create timeless music is in that step down tuning, which takes it to 418, which is very close to 417. And people like Van Halen, like Leonard Skinner, the list just goes on and on and on, who adopted that half step down tuning. So
I
music,
think that's what made them so popular. They were just so unique. I mean, really talking about Van Halen and their guitar, completely new, sound that you couldn't get enough of.
He's still to this day, just growing up, when I heard, to me they were like superheroes. You know what I mean? They might as well have been Marvel comic book characters. It was just so magical to me. And my uncles played country music. So I'd go down to Virginia and they'd get out their Martin guitars. And I remember as a child going, wait a minute, this sounds like Angels. what? These are my uncles. How are they now? Like, so I think music is really super important. And I think, like I said, it's a grassroots movement. Once people, musicians, start feeling the difference, and I think when audiences start going to a concert that's tuned properly, and they're like, "What the hell just happened? I feel wonderful." It'll take care of itself. And
Yeah, I've been to concerts before. I went to Tangerine Dream one time, and I was so high from the music, I couldn't sleep. I
mm,
just felt so good. It was one of those. Well, I think that we've covered a lot of good stuff here with the 432 and with music and your discs. I think it's really exciting that people can see you in person. Are you going to be anywhere else besides the Meta One Empowering Humanity get together in Orlando in December? Or you have something coming up on Christmas?
yeah,
And
that
we
is.
were going to talk about that a little bit, but it kind of gets us way out there. Can you go
mm,
ahead and share that with me?
Um, People might know this celestial object that entered our solar system. I always butcher the name, Oumuamua. It's a Hawaiian name. I think I'm saying it right, but probably not. And people might know that these scientists have said something came through our solar system, and it has all the attributes of being intelligently controlled. It's slowed down, it's sped up, it's changed direction. Meteorites do not do that. And there's been a lot of hypothesis that it's got to be intelligently controlled. And so as it turns out, I'm part of a team that is going to be communicating with that object on Christmas night, and using a large array telescope to send a whole show that we're doing with Richard Hoagland again. And we're going to be sending it my 432 image, music that's tuned properly, tone sequences, and see if we get a response. What if it turns around and comes back? But that's going to be on Christmas night. So if you tune into Richard Hoagland's show, I believe it's called The Other Side of Midnight, I believe. And that night, it'll be live, and that actual show is going to be broadcast to Oumuamua as it goes through our solar system. And then the next night, we're going to do another show and see if we've received a message back. And it's either
So
going to be
tell me again one more time how people can tune in, because I think both of those shows are really interesting. Richard Hoagland's channel is called what? Is that his website?
Midnight, I believe, but type in Richard Hoagland internet radio, and you'll find it.
I think I was talking over you when you said something. Go ahead and say the name of the show one more time.
Other Side of Midnight.
Other Side of Midnight. Yes. Okay.
I believe that's the name, but if I'm wrong, which sometimes my brain gets foggy, type in Richard Hoagland internet radio, and that'll take you to the show. That's going to be on Christmas night, and pretty much the deal is that whole show is going to be broadcast, directed, focused, pointed at Oumuamua. And all I can say, you'll find out a lot during the show, but I'm pretty sure there's been communication already from that craft. And pretty much once they figured out how to decode it, much like the movie Contact, as it turns out, or even
Close Encounters.
Close Encounters, yeah, using music, right, to communicate. That it's all 432 based math and mathematics and sacred geometry and encoding like pi and Fibonacci sequences. And so they think maybe the deal is it's waiting to be communicated with a proper key stuck into the lock.
Well, they say that's how you open vortexes and wormholes and things like that. They're frequency and frequency keys.
Yes.
And I think, sequences, I think geometry, and probably DNA coding too. But I think It's definitely something, and thank you for the work that you do with healing water and healing the planet and consciousness. You're really active in the community. We got into that a little bit last time you were on the show. You have something with the University of Ottawa as well. Is that something that it's the study of light and sound, I believe, and consciousness, the
Actually,
evolution of consciousness?
it is a movement of sharing Native American, First Nation knowledge that's been gained from a long
Yeah.
time of contact with star beings. And if people are interested, type in University of Ottawa and Star Knowledge, and you'll find the program is called the Star Knowledge Symposia. And it's all sharing what is star knowledge? It is the knowledge of light and sound and how it creates physical reality. But we also filmed a show for the Canadian Public Corporation, which is their kind of PBS over in Canada, actually bigger. But that show is called Star Beings, and it just aired in July of this year. And it's interesting because the Anunnaki told me, the whole point of this is mankind to join a galactic society. And they said it'll happen through the Native American First Nation voice. And I thought, well, that's a big order to fill, how's that going to happen? And then all of this happened with the University of Ottawa. And I'm proud of it. I actually named it the Star Knowledge Symposium. I was talking to the producer and he's like, well, what do you think we should name this? I'm like, well, you met us at a Star Knowledge conference. That was that. It was then named the Star Knowledge Symposia. And the deal with that is once we're done with COVID, they'll start bringing elders and grandmothers and chiefs to Canada, to the University of Ottawa. And solstices and equinoxes, they will have open powwows for the public to come and meet elders, learn from them, learn what they know, because they know a lot. They're finding out they're bringing back tribes in California because the world's on fire, because of global warming and forest fires. Well, the Native American First Nations knew how to control burn, and they didn't have this problem. So they are bringing back the Indigenous tribes to these areas to teach the people
How to custodian the earth. Because we've forgotten how to custodian our earth, our water, the animals properly.
Yes.
I had to toss that in. And that is the kind of knowledge. I mean, just like you were saying with the farming, when you plant corn, squash, and beans together, they form a symbiotic relationship that keeps each plant has something to offer that keeps the other healthy when you bring them in together. I love that.
We call that the three sisters. Corn, beans, and squash. And they all bring something to the table that helps the other grow and protects it, from other things. And when you plant those three, and using 432 water, I think we're on the verge of organic GMO. We're trying to do it with nonsense and making things worse, but you can do it with frequency in nature and have much
harmony
results.
Yeah. I just did a podcast with someone that created a device called a harmonic egg, and that harmonizes your body well, your mind, your body, all of your energy. It's really beautiful.
Awesome. It's needed. All this information and living more in harmony with Mother Nature.
With each other too. We wouldn't be divided if we were in harmony with ourselves.
Or, we've been all forced into thinking we're separate from nature and separate from one another, when it could be nothing further from the truth. We're all in this together. Yes,
we are. And thank you for your part. We're all doing our part.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come and share.
I appreciate your share. So you have a website, michaelleehill.com?
.net. Oh, actually, that's funny. I just got my name back. It was locked away in the NSA and I couldn't get my name back, but I just got it back. So michaelleehill.com or net will get you there. And My discs are available, and more so than anything, though, check out my blog, because I've used it as a way to share knowledge and information, and as long but concise as I wanted to. And I think that's the coolest thing for me. And my YouTube is Michael Lee Hill on YouTube, and I've begun making some video content, things I feel are important. So yeah, those two. If you want to contact me on Facebook, you can, but don't send me a friend request. I'm at my 5,000 friend limit, and I got about 2,000 waiting. So what happens is I'll just never see it. But I can tell you, just if you send me a message saying, hey, I'd like to be your friend, I will absolutely make room for you and add you. Welcome aboard.
Very good. Very good. Well, also to find more information about Meta One, you can find, we have a Telegram chat for the official Meta One channel and Universal Law official channel. You can find us at metaone.io. Sign up for our newsletter, find out what we're all about, look at our white paper, get the vision, join the movement, and become a member. It's very, very exciting. Very, very exciting stuff that we are creating. And I think that this next few decades of our world is going to be very, very interesting. I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, it is exciting. And, Robert and his family, and Wanda and Alfred, they're just such great people, And so
Penny and Richard.
Looking forward to next.
Justin. Yes. You get to see you get to find out what they're up to. And, the presentations they make are very, very good. They're very interesting. Anybody that's interested in going, you do get quite an education when you join one of these things. So, and there's drawings too. I mean, it's a really good deal. It's a really good deal. And you may even have your guitar with you, right? You may even play a jig.
Yeah, you never know.
Okay, so it's time to go. Thank you very much for being here. If you like this podcast, if you like this content, please like and share and make a comment so that others can see our work as well. We're always happy to answer your questions and connect with you that way. We're on every platform. And until we meet again, live abundantly and live freely. Thank you.
Peace.